second guest speaker tonight is Kate Warren, and Kate is a commercial lawyer with the RAC, and tonight she's going to share with us Change Your Story, Change Your Life. Let's welcome Kate.
Thank you so much, everyone. When I first met Katie-Jeyn, I was in complete career sabotage. I had just left a difficult marriage after 10 years, and I was a newly single mother of 3. My life was in turmoil. I had lost contact with a lot of friends and family due to my marriage split, and my self-confidence was at an all-time low. 10 years earlier, I was a commercial lawyer in a top-tier firm in Perth. I was working 18-hour days at least 6 days a week, and I loved it. I love the work, I love the challenge, I love the long hours, and I love the work hard, play hard lifestyle. I had just bought my own place, and I made myself a 5-year plan that was going to see me as a high-flying corporate lawyer in London or New York, maybe both, who knew, who cared. I was going to be out of Perth, and the sky's the limit. It was at this point that I met the future ex, Mr. Kate Warren. We were married 10 years, and during that time, while I gained a husband, 3 kids, a house in the suburbs, 2 cars, a dog, and a 30-year mortgage, I completely lost my self-confidence. I was wholly dependent on my partner, and when circumstances took a turn for the worse and I ended our marriage, I was, in a word, terrified. I left my husband and I had a rather rude awakening. I didn't know how to do what most people would consider relatively simple things. I was terrified of taking cash out of an ATM. Banks had changed so much in those 10 years, I had no idea how to navigate my way through one. I didn't know how to make an online payment or transfer money. I didn't know my account details, or even if I had an account, which it turned out I didn't. I didn't know how to work the TV or the stereo system in my house. I didn't know how to put an appointment in my online calendar, and I couldn't even purchase a song on iTunes for my kids. I was embarrassed and I was ashamed. I remember I had to buy a car and I had a near nervous breakdown trying to make the decision. Did I want a 4-wheel drive like I was used to? Could I afford it? Did I want a smaller car more suited to my young family? Should I get new or used? How many kilometres? I knew I needed 4 tyres, but I knew nothing else. I hadn't made a decision in nearly 10 years. The poor car salesman, he was so understanding. I entered into 3 contracts to purchase different cars before I finally took one home, and I remember after signing each one I would burst into tears and beg him to tear up the contract so that I could reconsider. And as a footnote, after all of that angst, I finally bought myself a Dodge Journey, and I had it for 6 weeks before a P-plater ran a red light and wrote it off. I then went back into the same car yard, I pointed at the first car I saw, and I said, I'm taking that one. And I've still got that car today. So work-wise, I've gone from being a successful commercial lawyer in a top-tier firm to an entry-level human resources administrator role. Now that would have been amazing if I'd wanted to work in HR, but I didn't. I loved the law and I was good at it. And yet here I was working in a field I was not interested in or trained in. I was being underpaid for my qualifications and experience, and I had convinced myself I was lucky. I was lucky to be employed, lucky to be working part-time, lucky to be working for a company that was family-friendly, and lucky to be getting paid at all. Then I attended an Ambitious Leaders event just like this one, and it was a year ago last month. I was so inspired by Katie-Jeyn's enthusiasm, success, and her story. I knew immediately that I had to sign up for the 2-day course and anything else that Katie-Jeyn offered me. I left that Ambitious Leaders event reflecting on my own life and my own story, and I had 2 questions going over and over and over in my head. How had I ended up in this position in my career? And how had all this happened to me? So in trying to get to that Career Acceleration Mastermind, the universe threw a few obstacles my way. Their names were Parker, Sydney and Libby, my 3 children. And it was October before I could make the 2-day course align with my custody schedule. During that time, I had moved into a commercial management role in the strategic innovation team at RAC, and emotionally, I was in even worse shape than I had been in January. I felt I was completely in over my head with regards to the new role, and I had imposter syndrome so bad even my imposter felt inadequate at work. I was going through a very acrimonious divorce, and financially I was beyond stretched. I had taken on a second job just to make ends meet. So I was now working nights, and by that I mean from like 5 in the evening till 5 in the morning, when my kids were with their dad. So that added sleep deprivation to the mix, and I just had so many balls in the air. The Career Acceleration Mastermind is an amazing weekend, and there are so many takeaways. It's truly life-changing. For me, I had a complete epiphany when Katie-Jeyn asked us to write our story. What came out of me on that page was the story I've been telling myself and anyone else for the last 18 months. I was a victim. I was a struggling single mother with an ex-husband, still pulling all the strings. I was financially, emotionally, and time poor. I was asked to invest in myself, and I didn't have time for that. I looked at this story and I realised how limited it was. The story was true, but it is one very small piece of the puzzle that makes up me, the whole person. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I am a lawyer. I'm a traveller, a writer. I'm a volunteer. And yes, I'm also a single mother. My story is so much richer than what I've been telling myself. At 19, I was the first person in my whole extended family to leave Australia when I went and studied in Oxford in the UK.
Wow.
I worked in Italy at 21, and in less than 12 months went from being unable to speak the language and working in a factory, I was assembling toilet brushes in Florence, to interpreting and translating at an international conference centre in Rome.
Wow.
I taught English in Korea at 23, and I've done volunteer work in Fiji and the Philippines for extended periods of time. I once introduced the Pope to a crowd of 2 million youths in St. Peter's Square. By only looking at one facet of who I was selling myself so very short. So I changed the way I looked at myself, and I changed. And as Katie-Jeyn says, when you change, everything around you changes. So I sat myself down and I wrote my story. All of that I mentioned above and more. I added in that I'm intelligent, and I'm a good lawyer, and I have so much to offer the innovation team at RAC. I wrote down that I was fully capable of doing my job, and more importantly, I believed it. Katie-Jeyn helped me realise that I was already well qualified and experienced to do the next 2 or 3 steps in the career goals I've set for myself, and she was right. And it took me 3 months of operating with this new mindset for my boss to see what Katie-Jeyn and I had already realised. I was more confident than I'd been on. I went from performing an undefined supporting role for the strategic innovation team to running the RAC corporate venture fund, Better Labs Ventures, with the entrepreneur in residence. As of January this year, Better Labs Ventures is the largest corporate venture fund in WA. We have invested in some amazing Perth startups, and I did that. I went from borderline underperforming to exceeding in my role. From being told by my manager that he wasn't convinced my role really warranted the 3 days a week I was working, to negotiating an increase in my hours and getting a commitment from him to make me full-time in March. My leader has now budgeted for me to have leadership training. This will be my first ever training at the RAC in 10 years.
Wow.
He has budgeted for me to attend innovation events in San Francisco, and with the extra hours, my pay increased $40,000.
Woohoo!
So we come full circle. So how did changing my story change my life? Well, I've conquered my fear of the ATM. I can now navigate a bank like a pro. And I am advising RAC on where to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars without breaking a sweat. Changing your story isn't easy. It means changing how you see yourself. It's taking control of your own self-talk and the way we look at and judge ourselves. So don't limit yourself to being just one face of a dice, or even being made up of only 6 sides. We are infinite, and we are all of ourselves, and we are amazing. I am the adventurer that went to Europe, the storyteller that has published novels. I'm the successful lawyer that loved private practice, and I'm the single mum going through a crazy divorce. I see my strengths in all of this, and that is my new story. So go for it, change your story, and see how completely fabulous your life becomes, like mine.
No, you did it beautifully. I didn't even have to prompt you. Well done. Congratulations. How good was that, everyone? Give her a round of applause.